What's going on, you loyal listeners? Thank you for tuning in to the L Squared podcast. I'm your host here, Luke Larson, and joining me today, maybe begrudgingly, maybe he's happy to be here. It's my old kid and caboodle. Can I call you that? I've never called a person that before. Old Legs is here, ladies and gentlemen. Old Legs,
What's
Jordan Isis.
going on? Yeah! Coming fresh off a near win.
Yeah.
I'm podcasting today in my number 8 Sexy Rexy
Yep.
Grossman jersey.
Yeah, that was a close one.
Yeah. Let's not get into that though.
Okay. We'll just say it was a near win.
What do we
Had a
got
good time.
today? What are we talking about?
Well, we decided that we didn't really have a set. A lot of times we'll try and have, somewhat of a set topic and riff on it. But we kind of were talking about what's the one thing you and I usually talk about on the phone to each other?
We talk about talking about seeing movies.
Exactly.
Basically, we're basically either one of us. This happens to be one of those times where like I've seen 3 or 4 movies and you've seen 3 or 4 movies, and neither of us have
Have seen the ones that we told each other to watch.
We're a bit out of sync, which is
It'll happen. The
pretty
seasons-
rare between us. We usually see about the same things.
Yeah, the seasons are changing though, so
the seasons, we'll
everything's
get back
kind
into
of-
sync.
Yeah, we will here pretty
It's
quick.
a lunar cycle.
Yeah,
So
which I never do as well in, but that's
Right.
okay. I'll
Yeah.
take the blame for this one. That's fine.
yeah, that's fine.
That's fine.
I just see whatever I want to see, and
And I
if
usually
Luke
have to
doesn't
accommodate.
see it, then
then the show is at risk.
This is
if I don't
completely-
see it.
completely one-sided.
It's true.
I'm
You're just like, look, these are the movies I've seen that I can talk about. If
Yeah.
you want to talk, if you want to do a podcast,
Yeah.
you have to see them. So
yeah, that's
you-
exactly how it goes. Yeah, no. So I think a lot of people in our day and age kind of struggle with this. The choices we have.
There is a lot out there.
And it's just like choices and distribution. Like, obviously everyone has Netflix, but then,
Yep.
some people have Hulu, some people have Amazon Prime. Like,
Yep.
some people
HBO.
don't even, HBO. Some people don't even really, like, know the difference, like, with, what these things are. So there's so
Right.
many things you could watch and so many ways to consume media that basically it's just like a struggle to, like, recommend things to people.
Mm-hmm.
And having people, be able to sit down and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to watch that because, Luke said it was good,
Right.
Mm-hmm. So today we're going to do a couple recommendations, maybe a couple of, buyer bewares. There's some
Sure.
things out there, some things we didn't like,
Yeah.
some things we did like.
Yeah. And we could do we'll do a mix of what's out there right now,
Right.
what maybe you've missed in theaters that
Yep.
now you can rent, and then maybe just some classics if you're bored, on Netflix, or
There you go.
maybe some ones we've missed in the past. So is there one you wanted to start us off with in particular?
Well, I guess we could start with a little bit of more of a middle of the road. I have
Okay.
I have 3 that come to mind that I just recently saw. One that I hated,
Okay.
one that was just meh, and the other one I really loved.
Okay.
So we'll just shoot one down the pipes
Mhm.
here.
So let's start with the one that you didn't like, that you were kind of out
Didn't
on.
like.
Yeah.
Hard Out.
Yeah. Let's start with the
Okay.
bad.
Okay, the bad. All right. So the bad is the live action rendering of Death Note, which is
Okay.
on Netflix. So
So if you have
anyone can watch
Netflix,
it.
Yeah.
and it's going to be on your front page whether you've whether you know what it's about or not.
Right.
So basically, Death Note is it's a very famous manga that was turned anime, and I guess we don't get we don't talk too much about anime on this
We
podcast.
don't. I mean, I have an appreciation for it. Anime, sure,
Anime.
fine.
Um,
I know of it. I mean, I wouldn't call myself an avid like anime consumer, but I enjoy it from time to time. And I think Death Note is up there. Like, I think most people have heard of, obviously, like Dragon Ball Z, probably One Piece, Sailor Moon. I think Death Note is probably right up there.
right.
What is it? The Alchemist one, the
Full Metal.
Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah.
I think those are kind of the mainstream ones that true anime fans probably don't gravitate to as much
Right.
because they're
One
so
Piece
popular.
is trash.
One Piece, yeah, exactly.
There's like 790
So
episodes
many.
of just
Shout
like,
out to Burdett
yeah.
Dog because they have all of them and they've like been
Oh,
watching and trying to go
God.
through all of them. It's like good luck, man. I
between
could
like
not
that
do
and Bleach, it'd be like
Bleach. I watched quite a bit of Bleach actually.
ugh. So bad.
It wasn't that good, but he had a big sword. But I think Death Note is one that I think most people would probably have heard of, even if they haven't seen it. So what's like the main premise of the story?
Sure. So the main premise is, and basically with this series, like you kind of just have to be like all in or all out. We talked about this with a couple other movies where it's just like something like so insane, like of a concept is introduced within, the first 5 minutes, and if you're not like on board, then it's going to be kind of a tough sell.
Yep.
But basically, the main character, Light Yagami in the anime, Light Turner in the...
His name is Light?
Light, yep.
Okay.
Yep. His name is Light. He's a high school student, and he's sitting in class, and a notebook falls out of the sky.
Okay.
He picks it up, he looks at it, it's a Death Note. Basically, the deal with the Death Note is, it has the instructions in there. You write down someone's name, and if you don't write anything else, in 40 seconds, they die of a heart attack.
Damn.
As long as you have, basically you need a name and a face. So if you're thinking about their face when you write the name, they die.
Okay.
You can also specify how they die.
So it's not just a heart attack.
Right, yeah. You can be like, so-and-so dies in, certain type of way, and that'll happen. And basically that's just that's the premise of the series.
Okay.
In the anime, Light Yagami is basically a sociopath.
Sure.
And this is explained within the first episode. He picks it up.
Mm-hmm.
He's skeptical, but he uses it. The other thing that basically once you use a Death Note, basically a god of death will come down, and you and only you will be able to see it. They call them Shinigamis, and this is like the they're not good or evil. They're basically the Shinigami, and Death Note is basically just a god of death that's bored.
Okay.
And wanted to be entertained.
Sure.
So that's basically, yeah.
Okay.
And that was the Willem Dafoe character that was...
Okay. The big black thing?
Yeah. Yep.
Are they specifically attached to the Death Note? Or are they the
Usually
ones
it's
doing
their
it?
Death Note.
That they
but
can give
in
to
the
people?
anime, basically, he just had two, so he fired it down into, the human world just to see what would happen.
Okay.
So basically you have that... And in the first episode of the anime, it's established that Light Yagami, he wants to kill all these, bad people. And so he's very idealistic. And he says it at the end of the start of the episode, I'm going to be the god of this world. I'm going to make a new world, and I'm going to be the god of this world. So very idealistic, very insane. And basically the whole thing of the story is you have this other character who's introduced later. His name is L, and he's the world's greatest detective. Sorry, Batman.
Hard knock on B-Man.
And it's basically just a cat and mouse game between L and Light.
Okay,
and
sure.
It's really interesting. It's more psychological. I would say I wouldn't have really picked this to be adapted, only because basically the biggest hurdle with this series, it's not any kind of CGI. There's no crazy action or anything like that, even though there kind of was a little bit in the movie, which was not really necessary.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fact that I would say half to 60% of the dialogue in the anime is just either Light or Elle monologuing in their head.
Okay.
So most of it is like he goes to school, he comes back, he sits in his room, and he either talks to Ryuk or he just like talks in his head about.
So it's like narration.
Yeah.
all
Yep.
the time?
It's just him monologuing in his head and just spewing off just insane shit.
Okay.
So that's basically the premise of the series. The live action. I'm not gonna lie. I had some hope for it.
Okay.
Because it is, somewhat doable. It's not like it's not like Ghost in a Shell,
Right.
where it's like kind of
Yeah.
an undoable thing, or like Akira or something like that, where it's just like this thing that's impossible to really put on the screen.
This has a good enough premise.
Right.
It's interesting. Like you said, it probably doesn't require a lot of CGI, so you could probably just do it almost like a noir style.
Right.
Yeah, I could see that.
It's the only problem is the casting of the main character Light is terrible.
Really?
It's played by Nat Turner, who his rise to fame or claim to fame is the Naked Brothers Band on Disney
I don't
Channel.
even know what that is.
I don't either.
You Googled it.
Yeah,
like, is this guy even in anything?
yeah, he's not good. Basically, yeah, there's some really big holdups between like. In the anime, the Light Yagami character is like incredibly intelligent, which Nat Turner doesn't display any of those,
subtleties.
Yeah, I don't think he could beat me in chess or checkers. And I'm
never
not good at either of those
once
things.
were you like, this guy has gotten better than a C+ on a math test.
Right.
Yeah.
They really, and they do. It's frustrating because it's so like established early on in the anime that the Light character is pretty much a sociopath, and he'll do anything to like kind of progress his agenda.
Right.
But in this, they kind of get hung up on this kind of
morality.
No, they try to like play it off as he's a good guy, and they also there's just too much of like this kind of geeky teen romance with the Margaret Qualley character, who's I assume is supposed to. Well, she doesn't really play a character from the anime because there is a love interest in the series, but it's Light is a sociopath and doesn't care about other people, so he's just basically uses the Misa character. And in this, they're like kind of in love, and then she's kind of a bad guy in the live action, and it's not good. The only thing I can say for the live action is the Elle character played by Lakeith Stanfield is pretty good.
Okay.
So that was a standout performance. I thought basically everything else about the movie was trash, though.
Oh, really?
And
nothing redeemable.
Nothing. Even Willem Dafoe, I do give him credit there because I don't know how much Willem Dafoe knows about Death Note, but I can tell that he at least watched the first 4 episodes and basically just he basically replicated
did an impression
the English actor's voice in it. So
that's cool. At least that's something.
It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine. So
I would have rather just had Willem Dafoe, no CGI, no makeup, just like, hey,
yeah, because he's creepy.
I'm a Shinigami. I'll teach you how to use this Death Note.
I did see like a trailer for it or something, or maybe a promotional image of the CGI thing, and I was kind of like, that looks really out of place here. You could have just had Willem Dafoe in the shadows, with like his eyes lit up.
Yeah,
or something,
it's really it's kind of frustrating with some of the decisions they made. They made like narrative speaking, and then just kind of like thematically speaking. Mm-hmm. And then the whole thing, like even if it has like a really a very good script, I just don't think they could get over like the casting of the Light character because it's not good. So
that's a tough one to overcome. If you're not in on the main character, then the rest of the movies.
And the other one, and I want to point out too that even though I thought the Margaret Qualley character, which I assume is some like rendition of Misa. I really like her. She was in The Leftovers. She was like the girl that got stolen in The Good Guys. or what's
The Nice Guys?
The Nice Guys, yeah.
Okay.
She's really good, and she's really good in everything she does. But this one was just the script was just too much to overcome.
Yeah,
and it's disappointing.
She was just a name.
Yeah,
and she probably was like, "That's a decent paycheck."
Yeah, and it's too bad too because the director as well I think is like kind of got some promise as well. I forget his name, but he did You're Next, the horror movie.
Oh yeah,
the one with
and
the mask
and The Guest.
Yep,
The Guest is really good.
So
okay,
it's not like it was close. It was really close, but yeah, it was really far.
And they tried, but just didn't quite.
I kind of want to just like blame the whole thing on Nat Turner and hope I never see
it could be
another one of his movies.
I mean, it could be a thing where it was like Netflix was like wanted to get the right people involved, but then they were also like, we'll only do it if Nat Turner stars.
Ugh.
And then like
it was, and he had this terrible haircut with this like
was it gelled up and
just like I don't even know, like frosted tips.
Oh,
like
good.
I was like, I didn't understand anything.
You're like,
about it.
Is it 2003 again? Right now? That's
so,
rough.
That's my. That's
the one that you.
That's my cautionary tale.
Okay.
Okay, because you're gonna see it. I'm sure on Netflix they're gonna keep pumping it out there. I highly recommend the anime. The I think it's like 27 or 28 episodes, but the L arc is very good.
Okay.
The last like 7 or 8 episodes are a little bit fantastical, but
sure, which will happen in anime. Yeah.
If you're interested in the premise, I recommend the series.
I've always liked the premise since the first time I heard it. I've never seen the show or anything, but it was always interesting. It's a good one that brings you in. But like Atch and I talked about on our episode, the Mafia one, for those fans out there who have heard episodes before, we kind of pitched he had a kind of an idea for a Mafia movie, and we talked about how, every movie has most movies have a pretty decent premise that get, made, like you tell somebody the premise and they're like, okay, yeah, I could see that, but it's all about the execution of it, which isn't like a controversial thing to say. Like that's something that everybody should probably understand, but yeah, so, okay.
What do you got for me?
Okay, so a cautionary tale. Should I start with my bad one?
I'd love it. Let's get him out right out of the way here.
Okay. As far as this is a tough one. I mean, like, I'm trying to think of like newer movies, I guess, that I've seen, which is tough because you and I have talked about that before. Like, to go see a new movie, like if it gets bad reviews, like we're probably not going to see it because movies are expensive. It's like, why waste money on it? Right. But if I had to give a cautionary tale of one that I've seen here recently, not necessarily in theaters, I would say, man, this is tough. Because I had one in mind, but I don't know if I would. Maybe could we just say proceed with caution? Because I still think, like, I don't know if it's terrible, but it's
Give
probably
it to me.
Okay. So, The Dark Tower. Like, the last pod,
there we go.
I mentioned that I saw it. I didn't really get too deep into it. But this was one of those things, like you said, like Akira or Ghost in the Shell, where, like,
sure,
this was something that should have stayed unadapted. Like, you hear about Stephen King's mega novella series, The Dark Tower, that's 7 full novels or whatever worth, this huge story arc, and you're going to try and condense it into one movie, just doesn't sound like it'll work, but they tried, and I gotta say, it did not work for me. And the main thing is, like, I think so this just felt like, and I just want to be clear, I haven't read the books, but I just wanted to go see it. I've heard of it. I know I have friends that are fans of Stephen King, and I went to it, and it's not great. It feels like it's jammed together and jumbled and doesn't really have a clear message. And similar to what you were saying, I hated the lead kid guy. I just could not get on board with them.
Okay.
And, you know, I haven't really seen him in anything else, but that's a big deal. Like, it's just like, if you don't like them, then you're not going to pretty much like whatever they do, which is, like, go through the whole plot of the movie. But it felt kind of cheesy, and it felt very uneven, and the pacing was okay. I mean, it wasn't that good, but it was just all over the place. And when you don't like the character, but then you have Idris Elba, who you like as an action star. He's a very good actor, obviously. So like when he's on screen, he's doing this weird, fantastical, cool action scenes. Like the action scenes are cool. Thing is, you don't give a shit because they don't really take time to set up the characters and have one main story. They just have tiny bits and pieces of millions of stories. It feels like millions to not even tell one good one. You know, Matthew McConaughey is doing Matthew McConaughey as the Man in Black.
It's a lot of Dick Swagger.
Yes, but it's good. I mean, I enjoyed him as the Man in Black, but again, it just, like, and then the dialogue was awful. It was really poorly written. And, it just didn't do it for me. I didn't have high expectations for that either, which is kind of the problem too. But I would say, you know, if you just, I don't know, if you just want to go see an action movie and you don't really care, it has some good action. I would probably recommend Atomic Blonde, because that's kind of more of one that has better action, you know, that's kind of newer, but I don't know, it didn't really work for me, yeah. So.
Right. I'd like to point out this is my favorite movie of the year that I haven't actually seen.
The Dark Tower.
Yep.
Definitely. And it'll remain that way.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you have your Matt pick?
Yeah, it's a movie that came out. It came out this year, but it's been a while. It's called A Cure for Wellness.
Okay.
We talked about this a little bit on the phone.
Yes, we did. We went over it a bit.
It was pretty much the definition of a meh movie.
Yeah.
Because there were some interesting things about it. So basically, like the premise of the movie is Dane DeHaan is the lead, and he plays a businessman who's supposed to go get one of his coworkers, who's this big CEO dude, at this basically, you know, Hollywood rehabilitation for rich people camp that's, you know, in, you know, somewhere in the, you know, Himalayas or something like that. It's got a little bit of Shutter Island vibe to it. It's the cinematography's good. The movie's pretty gorgeous, kind of at just like face value, but the movie is so heavy-handed with like the mystery of the whole thing. And we were talking about this, how it leaves you no choice but to, you know, I don't know who they were like. It's like a movie that wants to be a mystery, but it's like I don't know if like it was just a thing in editing where they went back and they're like, oh, let's make it easier for the audience to figure it out. Like, we
don't want it to be too
surprise. The water's poison. Like, it's So hard. It's really hard because I enjoyed the performance from Dane DeHaan and also Jason Isaacs, who plays kind of like the main bad guy.
Okay.
But it's very much, you know, it's a little smarter. It thinks it's smarter than it is, and the mystery is so poorly like not a mystery. You know, like I guess it's a thriller. I guess it's kind of a thrilling movie, but
suspenseful.
Yeah,
maybe,
I don't
trying
know.
To be.
It's kind of like a poor man's version of Shutter Island, and
which Shutter Island about pretty underrated in my book.
I like Shutter Island.
Movie.
I like it a lot. It's kind of all the way down to it. Like the mystery is pretty solvable.
Yeah.
There's multiple instances where you just be like, well, I'm gonna go ahead and leave now.
Yeah.
And
they don't.
And the whole thing kind of devolves into like a fist fight between, the two antagonists.
Which is all you want to see.
And that's not really like the way you want to end like a mystery, you know, with
especially
like the two just like punching each other in the face. I'm like, well, that's not solving it. That's not like how you would, solve a mystery, is it?
I don't know.
And
that's how Batman solves mysteries, right?
Right. Yeah.
So there you go.
So the whole thing just kind of like devolves into like just very primal, like 1 versus 1,
1v1 scrub.
Yeah, and they, it's a happy end. It's kind of a happy ending too at the end, which is, obviously Shutter Island has a great ending that's not happy.
No,
and that's the perfect way to end that movie.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But I remember when we were talking about this on the phone, because I still haven't seen it and I don't really plan on it. When we were talking about it, when we got done, I was like, so basically what you're saying is in a month, this is going to be a movie where you're going to be like, I'm pretty sure I saw A Cure for Wellness, but I just don't remember anything about it.
I'll instantly confuse it for like that Valerian movie he did, which I didn't see. Like I won't really be sure which one I saw. Like they're one of those two. It's like I don't
Valerian.
know,
I think I saw that.
Yeah,
was Dane DeHaan, and then that's it.
Yeah,
I don't remember anything else.
It's gonna be like that movie that was kind of like Shutter Island, but it was Dane DeHaan instead. And it was very frustrating.
And that's annoying too when you have literally zero expectations too going into it, right?
Yeah, because I mean, this is like I didn't go to theaters and see this. I just kind of saw it randomly on a Friday night, and all the makings were there. Like I said, I thought the cinematography was pretty well done. I thought the performances were well done, and that just kind of goes to show like how many things need to come together to make like a truly exceptional movie.
Yep.
And I think I would say this is closer, to being good than Death Note was. Like Death Note that was garbage.
that was a few steps back,
but
a few steps out the door. I think it's safe to say that any movie, the foundation of it has to be the story. It's telling a story, and so the story has to be good and make sense. And then that comes into characters, and then it comes into other things, more of the technical stuff. Because you can have a beautiful movie, there's great cinematography, really good camera work, good direction, good shot composition, and really great performances out of these actors. But if the story doesn't make sense, if their dialogue is shit, it's not gonna matter. It's still gonna be a bad movie, Whereas a lot of, look at Clerks. That's a one camera black and white movie that's not very well acted. The cinematography is not great, but the writing is very, very good. The dialogue is great. It was just pretty much the whole movie, and that's I'd say it's a classic in my book.
What do you got for me?
So
what's an average movie? Another one that I won't see.
Okay, that you won't see.
No, you can.
Okay.
You can talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
You can
on
say
my own podcast.
Yeah.
I can do.
Bully, you can
let it rip.
You can talk about whatever you want to talk about. I'm not gonna see it.
Whatever you want.
So this is what we're talking about. Luke, he gives me all these movies, and
you're like, you can say everything you want. I'm not gonna see it.
It's
always your thing, no matter what.
Written agreement.
If we're gonna say, if we're going to say kind of meh movies that, if we're going to say recently came out, it's tough. It's really tough.
Give me a good one.
What?
You can give me a good one.
Okay.
This is a recommendation podcast.
Oh, right on.
Right on.
Cool. Well, okay, I'll give you one that's right between good and meh for me.
Utah. Give me 2.
Give me 2.
2 recommendations.
Whoa, back off, War Child. Seriously. I'll give you one that sits right between good and meh for me.
Okay.
Which I think may be controversial, is Logan Lucky. It kind of sits in that spot.
Okay.
Now, you haven't seen this. This got a lot of press, and I actually did a video kind of on it on my YouTube channel, talking about that. And this was one where I had, pretty healthy expectations for it, I would say. Meaning that I wasn't too pumped right away, but then when I heard about it, I saw the trailers, I saw who was attached, and I was like, all right, cool, I'm excited to see it. And that was it. I didn't have huge expectations. I was like, I just want to see it. Steven Soderbergh directed. It's a heist movie, It's good, It's between good and meh for me because there's parts of it that are good. Again, Steven Soderbergh can direct the shit out of a movie. It's gotten really good reviews. It's very well directed. The cinematography is great. He has done cinematography without directing, movies on his own before. Like, he's very artsy, comes from that background. And it's a heist movie starring, Channing Tatum, what's his name?
Who?
Kylo Ren, Adam Driver,
Yep.
and then Daniel Craig.
Okay.
And so it's there's a lot of parts that are good. I don't think there's any part that's like great, and there's some parts that I go meh, and there's one particular part where I go I don't like that. But
it's got like parts.
It's like
there's like parts.
There's like parts. It's like when you try to make you like do a puzzle, but there's like 2 puzzle pieces not there. You can't do
finish
it.
it.
You can't put it on your wall.
You're like, there's like something missing here, man.
Yeah, you're looking around like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it's like. So it's kind of like it's a good movie. It's very, very well paced. I'll say that. It's a fun ride. Adam Driver is fantastic in it. He was my favorite character, followed closely by Daniel Craig, who was great. Channing Tatum was good, like he normally is. I can tell it's boring you already, which I understand. It's kind of boring. But the thing is that the thing was the heist was okay, but the thing was they didn't really set up the heist very well. It was literally like, oh, we're just going to do this heist, and we know how to do it. They didn't do any kind of research. There was no build up to it. It was just like, oh, we're doing it. So you weren't emotionally invested in it. So it didn't really, I care, but I didn't care. Like, it was weird that I actually ended up caring more about Channing Tatum's daughter and his family stuff than I cared about the heist, which I was actually invested in that other shit, which normally I don't care about. Normally I'm like, give me less of that, give me more of the heist. And the heist happens and you're like, okay, it's good, and then it kind of has sort of a twisty ending, which I liked. I mean, I came out of it like, yeah, that was good. But then the more I thought about it, it's like, I don't know if I'll ever watch that again. I don't know. It's just there weren't a lot of. It sounds like I'm trashing on it, but it was good. I understand why. I just don't think it was great, and there weren't a lot of things that made me like, oh man, like I can't wait to see that again, or that was so much fun. There were a couple parts that really did it for me, but and then there's one character at the very end. I won't spoil it, but it's a lady. She was so fucking annoying and didn't need to be there at all. Like, her whole character could have been, and she's only in it for the last, 10 minutes maybe, but even that amount of time, I was like, cut this shit out, and I'm good, And I swear to God, all her lines were dubbed over, and it was just really weird and annoying, and that's just a weird gripe I have with it, but I think this is one most people will see, and I think you should see it, but I'm just saying, for me, it just didn't quite get there the way I wanted it to. Some things worked better than I thought they would, and then others just kind of fell flat.
Do you think it's a hindrance that it's Soderbergh directing? Just basically just only based off the fact that you have, the Oceans series. and those are like kind of, you know,
the
staple
gold standard of
heist
heist movies. Yeah.
You know.
Do I think it's a hindrance on it? Yeah, I mean, I think
because it is kind of hard to like not
yeah,
compare,
right?
Even though you don't want to, but you know,
you have to almost.
It's a heist movie, you know,
and it's
right?
directed by the same
like,
guy. Yeah,
you know.
So how are you not going to compare 'em?
Right.
Yeah, I think it is kind of a little bit of a hindrance. I think maybe if this movie was like his first movie, and then he did Oceans, like you would be like, this guy is great. He's on an uphill swing. You know, I think you'd still recognize that Oceans is far superior, but you'd probably be like, oh, this guy's got a lot of talent. I really like that. I really like, you know, we could probably do something with this, you know. But it's one that I know people will go see, and I'm not telling you not to, but I just wish it kind of resonated with me more. But honestly, when I first came out of it, I was like, that was really good. And the more I've thought about it, the less I've kind of liked it. It was kind of it's become more meh to me as time goes by. So, I don't know. I mean, it might be one that'll be on TV and I'll watch it again, but even then, I think I might change the channel.
Oh.
I know, it sounds hard. Yeah.
I'm going to change the channel.
I'm going to change the channel.
I'm making a statement.
I'm not going to watch this for free.
I'm done watching this.
Yep. I'm sorry, Steve.
All right. Well.
Do you have a good one?
I have one that I have a couple that I liked. I don't know that they're good, but
a clear distinction there. Yeah.
Yeah. So one that I've been kind of like, you know, obsessive with lately, and I don't really know why, is the Bradley Cooper movie Burnt.
Yeah, you were telling me about this.
I love this movie.
You get on these movies sometimes. You'll just find one that's just trying its best to be forgotten for all of time.
It's got... So, I'm going to explain you here. There's like... So, I'm coming up with, as I'm seeing these food movies, I'm coming up with food movie tropes.
Okay.
And I don't know, did we ever talk about Chef?
We never did. No.
Okay, the Jon Favreau movie.
Very good movie. Never watched it on an empty stomach.
Hated that movie.
What?
Didn't like it.
How'd you not like it?
It
was fun. It was just like, it's just him in a food truck making stuff, whatever.
I had some issues with that movie.
Like what?
So, first,
yeah,
and I'm getting to the tropes.
Okay.
But one of the tropes in these movies is that you have to have a stunningly beautiful girlfriend, and then like a potentially even hotter ex-girlfriend who you're still super good friends with,
right? And
who are just overly nice, and you know.
Yeah.
So that's Chef.
Doesn't that
and in
happen
this case,
with
it's
everybody?
Jon Favreau, who is dating Scarlett Johansson and whose ex-wife is Sofia Vergara. And I'm like, I don't care, like, you know,
how
if you were
rich
you know,
and famous
if
he
you
was
were
as a
cooking,
cook.
you know, omelets and, you know, seasoning them with diamonds. Like, there's no cook that's that good.
I remember I remember this rant now.
There's no cook that's that good. And so in
Gordon
Burnt,
Ramsay pulls those down.
Burnt, for all of, you know, its shortcomings, it goes above and beyond with basically, I'm trying to pull it up here quick.
So Bradley
It takes that. What was that? Okay.
No
so
tropes.
one character.
Yep.
You have Jon Favreau.
Yes.
Okay.
On one end here.
Whatever.
Okay, whatever.
On the other one, you have
got
Bradley
a beard.
Cooper.
I don't see Bradley Cooper with a beard.
You have
got
Bradley
some
Cooper.
light shading. All right.
His girlfriend.
Yep.
Sienna Miller.
Don't know who that is.
Gorgeous.
Okay.
She has a weird haircut in this, but she even
Okay.
said you know, otherwise that she, you know, hated that haircut and was mad that she did that.
Did you research that to make sure that she didn't like her haircut?
Yes, I did. Of course, I told you I've seen this movie 7 times now.
We're like, I bet she doesn't like that hair. There's no way my Sienna Miller would wear that.
Yeah,
haircut.
that's not hashtag not my Sienna Miller.
What the fuck? Okay.
So you have that.
Okay.
And then the hot ex-girlfriend who
Yep.
they're totally cordial and they're, you know, completely okay with,
and
is freaking Alicia Vikander.
Wow.
Who comes in like a bombshell halfway through the movie and is just like, hey, I know that we did all those drugs and we ruined those people's lives in Paris, but, you know, I just wanted to let you know that I still care about you, and I'm going to pay off your drug debt. And
What?
Yeah. Right? Right?
What is this movie? And
It's
plus,
incredible.
okay, can I go on a side rant real quick about Alicia Vikander? I
Okay.
get that she's beautiful, but I don't care
Whoa.
for her
Careful.
looks.
Careful.
She looks
What?
like she's 15 years
What?
old, man. I can't get off on a girl
What?
who's that young. I mean,
Come on.
dude, she looks young as
Don't-
shit. I mean, her with that looks just sounds weird to me.
Don't-
I mean, her with Bradley Cooper,
Don't.
dude, she looks like you look at this picture and tell me that she doesn't.
She is
look
a grown.
frickin'
She's a
15
grown ass
years
woman.
old.
She's a grown ass
I'm
woman.
Just
And
plus,
she's a grown ass woman, and she's stunningly good actress.
she's okay.
Oof.
I'm
like this close right
now.
Like this
I'm
close.
poking some buttons here.
Yeah.
And she's in Man from Uncle. She's an uncle.
That's
That's her best performance. What more do you want?
come on. She's the female uncle.
God, I just don't. Whatever. Sorry.
Undercover uncle.
She's the double
We still
uncle.
have. Yeah, she's a
She's
double
a
uncle.
double-
Oh, we haven't done our Man from Uncle pod
We
yet.
still have to.
Um,
That's
that's
gonna be an
coming.
all day one.
Yeah. 6 hours later.
Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. So Burnt. So I explained the girlfriend ex-girlfriend thing. That's just something that, you know, that you have to have. It's
That-
like having like a troubled backstory in a superhero movie. You
Yeah.
know? Like you got to have it.
Some kind of parents or
And this
dead
movie
or
does.
something.
Yeah.
You have a similar trouble. I mean, every time I see you, you have this super hot girlfriend and this even hotter ex-girlfriend.
Right.
And they're always around.
And and the three of us get dinner
Yeah.
together.
And I'm like, can I
Right.
come? And you're like, this is kind of a personal
it's just
thing.
like a-
I don't really, you know.
Right. So it's realistic.
Yeah,
okay? And that's what
absolutely.
I like about these movies. They're super realistic. So the movie opens in the most like in like the most amazing way possible. Bradley Cooper. So we know that, you know, he's been through some rough times.
Got some kind of
And he's serving his
anonymous-
penance.
He's got some kind of anonymous drug.
What's his
debt.
penance? Penance? Shucking oysters. Guess how many he does?
At least 40.
1,000?
How many?
400,000?
Did he put himself on this penance, or who is regulating this? Is this part of?
Himself.
So is he
Over
paying
the
off
course
his
of
drug
over the
debt
course
with
of 2
this?
years? No. He
That's
leaves
a
his drug
separate
debt.
thing.
Yeah,
That
that's a
Alicia
separate deal.
Vikander, she's got it.
In the
right?
2 years
she's-
since he
she's a sweetheart.
left
She'll
Paris.
take care of it.
So I'm gonna even.
Is this
so,
shuck oysters? from
shucking
some
oysters?
guy?
He does. He shucks oysters
So that
and
he can feel
I'll
better
cut to the
about
chase.
himself?
He shucks 1,000,000.
Holy shit!
He shucks 1,000,000, and he keeps track of every single one because he has this little tiny notebook, which, you know, I'm not even sure you could write 1,000,000 numbers in it, but
Right,
you
but-
could count. But he does 1,000,000, and so let's see here.
You're crunching some numbers over there. Shucking oysters. So how many is he gonna have to do?
So he shucks. This is his penance. He shucked 1,300 oysters a day for 2 years without.
What?
Right.
While doing normal cook shit, or does he just spend
He was just the oyster
a
shucker.
year?
Yeah.
That's all he did.
Yep.
in that
1,300 a
restaurant.
day. Yeah.
My goodness,
Yeah. They must go through a lot of oysters.
that must
So-
have been an oyster.
So that's how he starts,
restaurant.
and like it's so great. Like he writes down like 1,000,000. He's like, and then he just like folds up his book and he walks out the door. They're like, "Hey, where you going? Wait, hey,
stop!
oyster
Get
boy.
the door! No, stop!
Oyster boy,
Don't
where
they
you
say
going,
that?
oyster boy?" Well, like, yeah, if you shucked 1,000,000 oysters, I'm pretty sure that's like what you would be called is oyster
Probably.
boy.
You
But,
think you get like a company car or something?
Yeah. So
Well,
that's
sounds-
how the movie starts.
So you
it's
know
incredible.
That's when you
Um,
got to decide if you're in or out, right there.
Yeah. And then basically the rest of the movie is just him.
It's just a mountain of cliches.
Yeah. It's great, like when they're actually like the cooking montages and stuff like that.
Sure.
It's either like it's like bad music for when bad stuff's happening, or good music when the food's good. Like,
but it's all the
you know,
same clips
but-
of food.
But regardless,
Yeah.
when Bradley Cooper says something in the kitchen,
Yeah.
everyone else in the kitchen, yes, chef.
Yes, chef.
Yes, chef. Yes, chef. Like, it's just over and over. Yes, chef. Yes, and I love it.
So is the basic mantra of this film like that Bradley Cooper's like lightly
He's a bad boy.
bearded bad boy chef who decides
He's
to
a
open
bad
his own shit with his own restaurant, who has a backstory, and he's like I'm like riding a motorcycle, leather jacket, sunglasses, walk in, the jacket's over my shoulder, I flip the door guy in the balls with the back of my hand, and I'm ready to go. Basically,
you're describing like shot for shot, like scenes of a movie you've never seen.
I haven't. This is all just floating into me through.
Yeah,
the
it's
ether.
great. Like,
I don't know if it is, but I'm glad that it resonated with you.
I don't know why, but yeah, I really enjoyed that movie. Again, on Netflix, readily available.
Yeah.
I would go into it knowing that you probably need to watch it like 6 or 7 more times to
Okay.
really like, you know.
Wait, what?
Be
I
in
missed.
it.
I just said
That's my
okay without thinking of it.
There
I
you
was
go.
like, okay.
There you
and I'm
go.
like, wait, did I just commit to? It's basically like I have to shuck oysters as part of this movie.
What would you rather do? Shuck a million oysters
or watch this 6 times?
I'll take the oysters.
Yeah, please.
1,300 a day. That can't be that.
That
bad,
can't
right?
be that bad.
Yeah.
You gotta at least be able to like put in headphones. You could probably listen to a couple things.
Yeah, you could probably watch better
watch.
movies.
You can watch so many better movies
Yeah.
in that whole time.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's my recommendation. That's the check out Burnt around Oscar season.
Check your local listings. Didn't
Yeah.
it come on like over a year ago, 2 years ago,
Well,
or something?
you know, just because it's
just because it's
didn't
not
get
nominated
nominated,
doesn't
yeah.
mean it can't win.
so.
That's true.
All right, what do you got for me? What's
Okay.
what's an A plus?
An A+. Are we just doing? I mean, do you want to just do? Is the main premise of this segment that you haven't seen the movie that I'm saying? It doesn't have to be like a new movie.
I thought we discussed at the start of the podcast.
Well, we went over it a little bit,
that,
but we've
just
come a
recommend
long
something
way.
to me.
Okay, so it doesn't have to be new. Because I have a couple new recommendations I could say, but if I would do an older one, I've been high on this movie. I've told you to watch it before, I think, but I'm going to say it again on mic so it's on record. It's called The Insider from 1999. Michael Mann directed, starring Al Pacino, Russell Crowe, some other high-end people. Directed by Michael Mann. Now, if you've listened to this podcast, I had to have brought up that I am a huge Michael Mann fan.
Right.
He's just one of those directors that, like, he really resonates with me. Every movie he does, it's like, God, it's fucking awesome.
Pray at the altar of Heat.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You and I talk about that all the time, is that Heat is an all-timer
It is.
that doesn't get talked about enough. Like, I think people still will probably regard it as an all-timer, but it's like, that's like one that kind of gets put by the wayside, where that should be way up there, because that's a masterpiece for sure. And in the wake of that, I think The Insider kind of gets lost in a couple of these, because it's another Al Pacino starred Michael Mann movie.
Okay.
So
Al Pacino, he plays a guy, a shut-in. Doesn't go out a lot. The Insider.
Yeah, there you go. I was going to say about the opposite for his character. But, so basically, it's this based on a true story, and from what I gathered, it's very accurate to what happened.
As most.
As most are, yes. But Michael Mann does this where Al Pacino plays real life. What's his name? I'm gonna look up his name because it's kind of an interesting name. But he plays like the producer for 60 Minutes, and so he's a segment producer. So he goes out and he gets the stories. He gets the guys to come in and do these segments or whatever, and then Lowell Bergman, that's his name, real dude. And then Russell Crowe plays real life Jeffrey Wigand, who was a whistleblower for I forget which tobacco company, but one of the big tobacco companies. Basically, the movie starts out, Russell Crowe gets fired. He has this good job. He gets fired. He comes home and he's kind of like, well, whatever, I got let go. Well, then I forget exactly what happened. What had happened was like the big heads of tobacco came out and like saying that they don't believe that nicotine is addictive. They said that in front of a Supreme Court. And then Lowell Bergman, Al Pacino's character, found out that through his research that this guy, Russell Crowe, had just been fired and he was working on this special thing for them, so he wanted to interview him to get some info on it so they could maybe do a story on it.
Okay.
And then, like, the tobacco company makes Russell Crowe sign an NDA, a bigger one, and they're kind of threatening him. And basically, Russell Crowe was like this health guy. He worked for Jergens, I think, Johnson & Johnson, was like a scientist, and he would like work. He was big in the healthcare industry. He was like a higher up there. So the cigarette company hired him to do research to try and create a quote unquote healthier cigarette, and threw a bunch of money at him, basically just to use his name, saying, "No, look, see, we're making a healthier cigarette." But really, all they did with that was they just added more ammonia and other bad shit to it to make them worse, more addictive. And so then they thought that he was going to blow the whistle, so they fired him and made him do an NDA, and then he ended up kind of blowing the whistle on him anyway. But it's just such a great movie, man. I mean, it's a biography, thriller for sure, but just the way Michael Mann films the movie, those close night shots and those handheld cameras. And it's really interesting because, like, Russell Crowe's character puts everything on the line, and he does this and gets the interview or whatever, and they're suing him like crazy. And then 60 Minutes gets cold feet, and they're like, well, we don't really want to air it because we don't want to get sued by this company. And it's like he just risked literally everything, and they're hanging him out to dry. And Lowell Bergman, Al Pacino's kind of caught between the middle of the two. And it's just, this is great, great movie that from start to finish is just perfectly paced. And I just love it so much, and I feel like nobody ever talks about it. Right. I've seen it quite a few times now, but you just put it on, and it's great from start to finish. I don't know. I feel like I talked a lot about that movie. You haven't seen it, right?
No, I have not seen it.
But have you heard of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I've heard. I think that's probably like the one Michael Mann movie I probably haven't seen.
Yeah. You've probably even seen the bad ones, like Miami Vice and
Black Hat.
Yeah.
Love Black Hat.
You don't need to talk
Black
about
Hat was great.
Chris Hemsworth doing push-ups. He's an analyst, data entry guy, but he's got abs.
Yeah,
like that's basically
swole.
the pitch. He's swole. He's thick. Yeah.
And wasn't that like they messed up the accents with that? He's like an American guy playing, and he's like there was some really stupid, wonky accent that he was trying to do.
I've really tried to drain all my memories of that movie, so there's no Black Hat.
The L Squared podcast does not recommend Black Hat.
Does not, no. Yeah. Officially, that does
hard
not get
pass.
a hard pass on that, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. Yeah. Well,
cool.
Anything else?
I think we gave him quite a bit. I feel like we talked about this too before. I feel like we could probably do this quite a while.
Right.
If we just compiled quite a few and came on here.
I had one other one that I maybe wanted to talk about, but I think I'm going to save it until you watch it.
Okay.
So
I think I know what you're talking about.
Finish it.
Finish it.
Yeah.
And we're not going to give anything away, but that's going to be a fun one to talk about. I'll finish it, yeah. So I think that pretty much does it. Here, like we said, we're going to try and come back with some of these. We might even do themed ones. I don't know. We'll have to see. But let us know if you've checked out any of these movies that we said, or if you want to see them, or your thoughts on them. You can find me on Twitter at LukeLarson89. You can find us on Twitter, the L Squared Podcast, on Facebook, the L Squared Podcast. You probably listen to this on either SoundCloud or YouTube. And that's about it. Do you want to be found? Oh, on our website, world89.net.
.net.
Blog. We just spurt out our random thoughts, and it's great.
Peace.